Good morning, everyone. Today, I would like to share a literature-based study titled The Impact of Digital Transformation on Society in Malaysia, with a particular focus on social behavior and identity. My name is Azizan Bin Had, and I'm from University Malaysia, Sabah. Okay, let's start with the presentation. So rather than presenting empirical findings, this paper serves as an initial conceptual exploration. It asks a fundamental question: as Malaysia becomes increasingly digital, how are everyday social behaviors, identities, and cultural relationships being reshaped? And just as importantly, what do existing studies tell us? And what do they leave unanswered? So Malaysia is often described as a highly connected society. Mobile phones, social media platforms, and digital services are now embedded in daily routines. Government initiatives such as My Digital further signal a national commitment to digital transformation. However, while adoption rates and technological progress are well documented, the social implications are less frequently examined. And this raises an important question. Beyond efficiency and innovation, what does digital transformation mean for how Malaysians interact, express identity, and experience community? So this is the major question. And then we look at the problem statement. Much of the existing research on digitalization in Malaysia focuses on economic growth, governance, or technological infrastructure. And these perspectives are important, but they often treat society as a secondary concern. As a result, we still know relatively little about how digital technologies influence everyday social behavior and identity formation. This paper responds to that gap by shifting attention to the socio-cultural dimension of digital transformation. And then we look at the aim of this study. The aim of this study is not to measure behavior or test causal relationships. Instead, it synthesizes existing literature to identify patterns, tensions, and debates related to digital transformation in Malaysia. So this paper is explicitly positioned as an initial literature-based study. Its purpose is to build a conceptual foundation that can inform future empirical research and guide more focused investigations later. And now we look at the research objectives. The study is guided by several objectives. First, it examines how digital platforms shape identity and self-presentation. Second, it explores changes in social and family relationships in digitally mediated environments. And third, it considers the role of algorithms in shaping public opinion. And finally, it reviews concerns related to privacy, surveillance, and digital rights. Together, these objectives help frame digital transformation as a social process rather than a pure technological one. And now we look at the theoretical framework. To analyze these issues, the paper draws on three theoretical perspectives. Number one, Joffman's self-presentation theory, which helps explain how individuals manage impressions in online spaces. And then social identity theory, that highlights how group belonging and cultural identity influence digital behavior. And then media ecology theory, that shifts attention to the structure of digital platforms themselves, particularly algorithm. And these theories allow us to ask not just what people do online, but how identity, culture, and technology interact. And now we will go on to the integrated framework. Importantly, these theories are not used in isolation. Digital behavior emerges from the interaction between individual agency, social identity, and technological design. So this integrated framework allows us to ask more nuanced questions, such as how cultural norms shape online self-presentation within algorithm-driven environments, or how platform design influences social interaction and visibility. And then we go on to the first theme, digital identity. The literature suggests that the digital identity in Malaysia involves ongoing negotiation. Online platforms offer opportunities for self-expression, but they are also introduce pressures related to visibility, validation, and cultural expectations. Individual balance authenticity with social approval, often navigating religious, familial, and cultural norms. An important question that emerges is whether digital identity reflect genuine self-expression, or whether they increasingly resemble performances shaped by social and algorithmic expectations. And when we go on to the second theme, social interaction and family life. So digital technologies have clearly transformed social and family relationships. They enable constant communication, especially across distance, and can strengthen emotional bonds. At the same time, the literature highlights new tensions, particularly between generations, which differences in digital habits, expectations of availability, and privacy concerns can create misunderstandings. And this raises a key question. Does increased connectivity necessarily lead to deeper relationships, or does it sometimes produce new forms of strain? And then we go on to the third theme, algorithms and public opinion. And another major theme concerns the role of algorithms. And these systems influence what information users see, how content is prioritized, and which voices gain visibility. In a Malaysian context, these have implications for political discourse, social debates, and misinformation. The literature raises concerns about echo chambers and selective exposure, prompting us to ask how aware users are of algorithmic influence and how this shapes public understanding. And then we go on to the fourth theme, that is community and participation. Digital platforms also enable new forms of community building and participation. Online initiatives have supported activism, mutual aid, and social solidarity. However, the literature also points to risks of fragmentation and polarization. And this duality leads to an important question. Under what conditions do digital communities strengthen social cohesion, and when do they deepen division? Then we go on to theme number 5, privacy and digital rights. So privacy and digital rights emerge as growing concerns. Many users express unease about data collection and surveillance, while awareness of legal protections remains limited. And this raises a critical issue. Can meaningful participation in digital spaces exist without trust in how personal data is managed and protected? And then we go on to discussion on this matter. When these themes are synthesized, a clear pattern emerges. Digital transformation produces both opportunities and risks simultaneously. Identity, culture, algorithms, and governance are deeply interconnected. So rather than asking whether digital transformation is simply beneficial or harmful, the literature encourages us to consider for whom it matters, in what context, and with what consequences. Now we look at the implication. These findings have several implications. They highlight the importance of digital literacy, culturally sensitive policies, and greater platform transparency. They also suggest that social and ethical considerations should be central to digital transformation strategies. And this leads to a broader question. Are current policies adequately addressing the social dimension of digitalization? And finally, we go on to the conclusion and future research. To conclude, this paper provides a conceptual foundation for understanding the social impact of digital transformation in Malaysia. As an initial literature-based study, it identifies patterns and gaps rather than offering definitive answers. Future empirical research is needed to examine how these dynamics are experienced in everyday life. Ultimately, the guiding question moving forward is how digital transformation can support social well-being, cultural continuity, and inclusive participation in Malaysia society. So thank you very much.